once again my pleasure to present to you the director of the Raid 2, Mr. Gareth Evans.
How do we do this?
So who has the first question? Right down here.
I was wondering, have you submitted this to the MPAA and have they like cracked themselves yet?
No. Yeah, that's coming up soon. We'll figure out what happens after that.
Far right, right over by the aisle. Yeah.
So I love the choreography and the camera work. It almost feels like a dance. Like, how do you plan those action sequences? Like, what goes into that?
What usually happens is me, Iko, and Yayan, the main choreography team, we'll figure out each of the scenes individually one by one. And we try to the reason why we try to make it feel like a dance is that whenever we design the choreography, we try to figure out to get those blocks and punches that we play like a rhythm, almost like percussion. So we're always sort of like clapping along to try to figure out what the signature time of the fight is. And we'll usually spend about 3 months before we actually start pre-production just designing the fights. So it's just the three of us in an office space with beige walls and green floors. And me telling two guys to punch each other a lot, and while I film it, there's nothing weird about it at all. And then we kind of like figure out the whole structure of the thing, so we figure out every shot, every edit, so we have like a blueprint that we can work with, like a visual storyboard then. Next one.
I'm just gonna go.
Go on. Okay.
I saw the first Raid twice at the 2012 Sundance, and I was kind of worried when I saw it in the guide that you wouldn't be able to surpass it, and you, like, far surpassed it.
Thank you so much.
Your camera angles were amazing, from the shots from the inside the car to when the guy got stabbed and when he pulled out the knife, and just what were some of your inspirations for those camera angles? Because they were bloody brilliant.
Thank you. I'm going to give credit to my two DOPs because we devised this thing on the first raid, the idea of doing a pass off. And in the first raid we did the thing when Iko jumps down through a hole in the floor, we put the camera so that we could transfer it through the hole and have a second DOP underneath waiting to catch it and carry on operating. And so I said to Matt, my DOP, I said, in this one, let's do that, but during a moving car, with a car chase. And then he called me a fucking maniac. And we toyed with different ways of doing it. We thought that maybe we could do it with green screen, and we were worried it would be fake because it's such a wide shot. It's hard to sell, especially at our budget. And then we thought about putting two cars in a flatbed so we could have control. But everything we come up with didn't feel like it would work, so we decided to just go for it and just try it. So we had two cars parallel, one camera car, one stunt car with the fighters inside. So once we were comfortably same speed, Matt would kind of handheld the camera and push it through the open window. Seriously. And then the guys would fly, he would call action, first time he got to do that. He would call action, they'd fly over the back seat, and then we'd pull the camera out and then whip pan. This car speeds off, and then the other car driven by the actor comes in. What you don't see is that the second cameraman wore a car seat to hide himself. So he sat with his arms behind his back waiting, and then all of a sudden Matt pushes the camera through his window, and then he reaches up, grabs it, Matt lets go, we trail off, and then he carries on with his. Whip pants goes out through the back window, because we took the seat out because he was it. And then on the other side of the car we had a little sort of little resting area, not very comfortable. We had another crew guy lying down, waiting for the camera to come through the window so he could just stabilize. So yeah, that was the only way we could figure out how to do it. Gentleman?
Hey man, actually I'm with Twitch, so I got to see a bunch of the pictures while you were shooting, and the danger behind the camera, because I remember Todd Brown showing us all a picture where you almost got hit with a truck. Or a car, yeah. It's during the chase. How often did that happen? I mean, how risky was some of the...
Thankfully, I'm going to kill Todd for that because we were shooting, we had to change one of our stunts. We had a sequence where when Eka points the gun up and fires at the guys in the car, the idea was that the front tire was going to burst, the car was going to flip over onto its back. We were setting up ready to shoot it. We had 4 cameras rolling. One in the camera car in front, one on the side, one up above, and then I foolishly decided I'm going to get a 4th shot, Matt, I'll operate down. So I've stood on the side of the road by this little pavement area, and the cars are coming down this way. So my goal is to kind of catch it as it flips and just pan across and follow it. And it was only a backup shot. I didn't need it in my storyboard, it was just a backup shot. But as we did the stunt, the guys were driving on, and we had a piston inside the car to flip it. Piston kicks out, the car starts to flip, and as it flips, it lands on the tyre instead of going onto its back. As it lands on its tyre, it starts to point right towards us. Comes up onto the curb, and then literally, last second, the Hong Kong stunt team, we had a great team from Hong Kong called Bruce Stunts, guys saw me, and then just turned the wheel at the last minute. And so as I'm filming, it's coming closer and closer, and he just veers off right away. But it was literally like, say if I'm here, but the car can't go out there.
Wow.
Yeah. But the downside is we took that photo. That photo we sent it to Todd. I just sent it to him for shits and giggles because it was just a fun thing to do. And I haven't told my parents yet that anything had happened. And then the next day, like my dad Googles all the time, which is a nightmare. I don't know what anybody's gonna find. But like literally, I had this like worried message from my mum and my dad. They were saying like, you know, 'cause they didn't know anything about it. I hadn't had a chance to speak to them. First thing they read is, "Oh, director of the raid almost dies in a car crash." So yeah, thought it was me.
That was right up there, yes. You, yeah.
So last year when we saw the race one, I don't remember, maybe you mentioned something like this, but have you ever, did you plan to make the raid 2, the sequel of the raid 1? Because it was perfect.
Thank you.
The reason why I love this film is because second one till the last second, it's very intense, which is completely different from similar genre movies.
Oh, thank you very much.
Do you plan to make the second movie of this? And
Yeah.
Are you planning to make any more?
Okay. Weirdly, I'd written the script for the second one before I'd done Grade 1. And originally it was supposed to be a standalone film. The character was about like an ordinary, everyday guy who gets arrested, put into prison, and befriends a mob boss's son, and is an enforcer for them, and then kind of has to live out this gang warfare thing. But the problem I had was I couldn't really figure out the motivation for why he would stay when everything started to get more and more intense. There was no reason for him to stay. And so we tried to get a budget for that for 2 years. We couldn't get money to make it. And then we decided, let's make the raid instead. So as I was writing the raid, I started thinking, well, maybe if we make that one a sequel to this film and make it the cop character and continue through, it would fix some of those motivational issues I had with the first script of it. So that was the first reason. And then thankfully, Raid 1 did alright, and then we got to make this one then straight afterwards. So that was the kind of process of it. In terms of Raid 3, I do have an idea for one. It's very, very different from the last two, and it actually starts about 2 to 3 hours before this one finishes. So it branches off, so we'll see how it goes.
Do it.
Anybody in the balcony? Let's show the balcony some love. You have any questions up there? Okay.
So much for love.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I got a question regarding your other work. I mean, I love this movie and I love both raids, but I also love what you did in VHS before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have any plans for the future moving forward?
To do more horror?
Yes.
I do have a horror film idea that I'd like to do at some point. VHS 2 was a great experience for us, so me and Timo to co-direct. So I'd never done that before. And it's kind of like one of those things. VHS 2 is kind of an opportunity for me to try out some of the stuff that we ended up using in this, like figuring out how to extend shots to make it feel like it's all one flow, when in actuality it's a couple of cuts to kind of join everything together. So in VHS 2, I don't know if you guys seen, but at the end of the film, it's one person's perspective, like a button camera. So we couldn't cut to any other cameras at all. So it had to be one perspective. And I didn't want to kind of jump cut my way through this long run up through the building into a car and onwards. The problem was we had 3 different locations to make one location. So then we started looking at different things like using whip pans to put a cut point so we can join 2 shots together. Looking at architecture between 2 different buildings. If there's a wall that looks similar to this wall in this building, we'd use that to kind of lead into the next location. And so in this then, that kind of helped me when we were designing the prison riot. There's that one really long shot after he puts a stone onto the guy's head, and it trails off and we follow a bunch of different fighters, crane up and crane down and everything else. And we meant it to feel like it's one shot. It's actually made up of about maybe 15 different shots pieced together. So it's all about finding that movement and those textures that we can cut through.
Okay, we have time for one last question because we have a real tight turnaround right here. Go ahead.
Okay, big fan. Seen all VHS 2 and the raid. I own it. I brought it.
Thank you.
Rantau as well. Question as far as if, let's say, for a next sequel or any work, you mentioned that you're planning to do work every other year in the US and Indonesia. How can I audition if I'm Indonesian, I live in Seattle, so.
Okay, casting agents and stuff like that. Obviously, I don't know, man. It's like, if you're in Indonesia, we're pretty open when it comes to Indonesia. Because I know what our structure is, we always kind of keep it open casting for stuff in Indonesia. So yeah, it's through the company, everything's through them. So, yeah. So we're pretty vocal on Twitter. Sometimes a little bit too vocal, but yeah. Do one more?
One more real quick. You get to pick them.
Alright, yeah.
The Raid 1 and 2 kind of represent the best action films I've seen in the last several years, and so I'm just going to treat you as action expert. What, in your opinion, is the most exciting trends in action film these days, and also, what would you say is kind of the worst habits that you're seeing?
Okay. Okay. The things I love, the things I go back to and watch over and over again, like The Wild Bunch, which is not a modern trend still. Like The Wild Bunch to me is like one of the most perfect sort of not action films, but films set pieces. And then Hard Boiled, like those two films are like the all-time classics really for that. And what I love about those and what we try to kind of emulate, and not always successful, is we try to emulate that thing of like getting a feeling of the geography of the space you're in. So you're never left guessing of where you are in the scene. You're always kind of aware of what part of the road you're on. Like with the car chase, we wanted to make people feel like they knew where they were in terms of the space and who was in front, who was behind, stuff like that. And also I'm not a flashy editor. I can't do all the bells and whistles and Final Cut and pretty shit at it. So I just do straight cuts, and it forces me to go back to that older style of sort of editing and shooting of action scenes. So that works for me. In terms of stuff I hate, I hate real tight close-up shaking and just using sound effects and because I feel like it happens a lot, and people rely too heavily sometimes on the sound effects to make you feel like there's 100 punches when you're not seeing one. So that's like one of the things, and part of why I work with the choreography team from the very beginning is so that I can kind of appreciate and understand the intricacies of the choreography that they're designing. And so then when I see that, I know that, okay, I need to show this, I need to show this detail. And so then when we're designing those video storyboards, we can kind of design in a way that we are showing it all, and we're kind of finding the right camera movement to kind of accentuate a hit or a block or a lock. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming, everybody. You can really help us by exiting.